Sarada Uchiha and Cho Cho versus Delta Akar is a fight that I do think is going to happen later on in the Boruto series. However, just as a small spoiler warning to anyone who's an anime only viewer, I don't want to spoil you, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to click off. However, what I will say is that I'm not going to be diving into heavy spoilers, so if you want to stick around and watch this video, you can feel free to do so. Now, if you're here, I'm assuming you don't care too much about light spoilers, but in the latest Boruto chapter, one of the things that we saw was that you had this character, Delta, who I talked about in another video about how it looks like she has some type of dojutsu going on with the way her eyes are designed. But in particular, I picked up on a small bit of interaction between Delta and Jigen, and it was in that time where Delta was talking about food, and she was talking about how she didn't particularly care for the food in the translation that I read. And one of the things that really strikes me on this is when you look at how Kodachi writes, it isn't on the level of someone like Eiichiro Oda. It isn't on that point where you can look at a small character statement and look at it and say this is going to be something that's going to pop up a few hundred chapters later. With One Piece, you have to read through every little small detail in order to get an idea of what's going to happen later, because Oda pulls back from a lot of the insignificant things. And so I want to apply some of that here, because Kodachi, when you read what he did with the Gar novel, and even when you look at what happened with the Boruto movie that he co-wrote with Kishimoto all the way back in 2015, he drops little small tidbits and then he picks them back up later on. And if you're paying attention, then you pick up on the small things that he reached back for. So the reason why I think this is really important is when you look at this is a character, a female character, who might have a dojutsu, so that ties her in with Sarada. And then you have the whole mention with food, and that might seem like a small thread to kind of connect, but Chocho is someone that I could see getting really pissed off over the fact that Delta is someone that doesn't really enjoy the taste of food. And one of the things that the Boruto series has slowly been incorporating, in particular in the manga, it doesn't have the full comedic timing that Kishimoto had in the original Naruto series, but it does have a penchant for gag elements at times, and that could be something that sets up a really interesting gag moment between Chocho and Delta, given the fact that Delta is this really skinny person, and Chocho, while she's extremely confident, at the same time she does have a bit of Choji's quirks when it comes to weight. And you see it when she sees Choji, and how Choji's just super heavy, but then when she sees him when she's sick, and how Choji is all of a sudden slimmed down, Chocho looks at that version of Chocho as her real father. That version of Choji is her real father. So when you look at that, you can see it where she looks at Delta and gets disgusted, and you have a Chocho and Sarada fight. And I think that that would also parallel what we got all the way back in the Shin arc, because when you look at that, when you look at what happened in Naruto Gaiden, you had these two team up for a moment against someone who had a superior ocular power. However, given the fact that they're still in the academy at that point, they weren't able to keep up. Now you have these two characters perhaps closer towards the 4-year time mark after the end of the Momoshiki arc, taking on Delta. Chocho and Sarada will be much more powerful. They have their skills a lot more polished, and we could very well see a true team up between these two, because I feel as if Kodachi, when you read the manga closely, and when you watch the anime closely, one of the things you see is that Chocho and Sarada, they have a pretty good relationship. Like, go back to episode 4. Chocho and Sarada had some really good chemistry going on, and that was the episode where you had the boys versus the girls, and that's where they basically destroyed the Ninja Academy during that little scuffle. And I think that'd be pretty cool to just wrap everything back around towards that. And I do think that having Chocho and Sarada take down someone who Kashin Koji looks at as being a bit of an annoyance and taking down a car member would be pretty interesting to see. But those are just my thoughts on this matter, guys. What do you think, and how do you personally think that Delta will be defeated? And do you like the idea of Sarada, Uchiha, and Chocho teaming up, or do you think it should be Team 7 versus Delta? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Have an awesome day.